Hello, grounded Taurus. Some of life's most meaningful changes begin so quietly that they are easy to overlook. Like roots settling deeper into the earth before new leaves appear, something within you may already be reshaping the way you understand stability, value, and belonging. If these words found you today, perhaps this isn't about chance at all. Perhaps you've arrived because a quieter part of you is ready to recognize that thriving begins the moment you stop measuring your worth by what feels merely familiar. If something inside encouraged you to press play, I invite you to slow down for a moment and simply listen. This reflection isn't about predicting a dramatic twist or promising instant rewards. Instead, it's an invitation to notice the subtle ways your inner landscape may already be changing. What once felt like emotional weight can gradually become wisdom, and what once seemed like limitation can begin revealing a stronger foundation beneath your feet. This isn't about luck. It's about learning to trust the quiet relationship you're rebuilding with yourself. For a long time, you may have held tightly to routines, expectations, or versions of security that once protected you. Even when they no longer nourished your spirit, they were familiar enough to feel safe. Yet something is gently asking for your attention now. You may have noticed a growing restlessness, a longing for more space to breathe, or the feeling that your life is quietly asking you to grow in a new direction. That feeling doesn't need to be rushed or explained. Sometimes the deepest transformation begins beneath the surface, long before it becomes visible. Before we explore that more deeply, I want you to know something. I see the quiet strength it has taken to keep showing up. I see the patience you carried through seasons that asked more of you than you expected. I see how often you've chosen endurance, even when no one else noticed the effort behind it. Those experiences are not signs that you are meant to remain where you've been. They are reminders of how resilient your roots have become. If this reflection speaks to something you've been sensing, I'd love to hear what brought you here today. Was it a feeling you couldn't explain, a thought that kept returning, or simply a quiet curiosity about where life is leading you? Share that in the comments if it feels right. Sometimes giving words to what we've been carrying is the first gentle step toward understanding it more clearly. Let's begin. Not every meaningful shift announces itself with noise. Some arrive the way morning light slowly reaches a quiet field, revealing what has been there all along. That is the feeling surrounding you now, Taurus. Beneath the questions, the moments of uncertainty, and the growing desire to live more honestly, there is a deeper invitation taking shape. Your ruling planet, Venus, can be understood here as a symbol of self-worth, grounded beauty, and the ability to truly receive what nourishes you. Rather than asking you to settle for what merely feels familiar, it invites you to reconnect with the value that has always existed within you. Instead of negotiating with life as though you must continually earn your place, you may be discovering that your strongest foundation has never depended on proving yourself in the first place. From a symbolic astrological perspective, Venus, the planet traditionally associated with Taurus, invites your attention towards something deeper than achievement. Rather than asking what you've accomplished, Venus reflects the relationship you have with your own value. It gently encourages you to reconnect with the parts of yourself that may have been set aside while you focused on preserving what felt safe, dependable, or familiar. This isn't about earning your place. It's about remembering that your worth has always existed beneath every role you carried. Jupiter, often seen as the archetype of expansion, offers another layer to reflect on. Its symbolism reminds us that growth rarely begins with circumstances alone. More often, it starts with perspective. As your understanding of yourself becomes steadier, opportunities, relationships, and resources can begin to feel different because you are meeting them from a different place within. This isn't a promise of sudden fortune or effortless success. It's an invitation to notice how inner confidence quietly changes the way you engage with the world around you. Many Taurus individuals know what it feels like to remain loyal to situations long after they've stopped providing nourishment. Sometimes that loyalty grows from love, and sometimes it grows from the understandable desire to protect what feels stable. Yet there comes a point when security and stagnation begin to resemble one another. the shift you're experiencing may simply be the growing awareness that protecting your peace sometimes means allowing old patterns to loosen their grip instead of holding them together out of habit. As your perspective evolves, you may notice certain environments, expectations, or even relationships no longer fitting as comfortably as they once did. That doesn't necessarily mean something has gone wrong. Growth often changes the landscape before it changes the destination. What feels uncertain today may actually be creating room for a version of yourself that no longer needs familiarity to feel secure. This is also an opportunity to rethink what receiving truly means. For many people, especially those who have learned to equate productivity with worth, slowing down can feel unfamiliar. Yet genuine stability isn't created by constant effort alone. Sometimes it grows through trust, patience, and allowing life to meet you halfway. Ease isn't the opposite of commitment. It can be one of its most mature expressions. If symbolic practices help you feel more present, you might be drawn toward colors that evoke groundedness and renewal. Deep forest green can serve as a reminder of steady growth and resilience, while warm copper carries the feeling of quiet confidence shaped over time. These aren't magical solutions or predictions. They simply offer visual anchors that can gently reinforce the inner qualities you're already cultivating. Whenever doubt appears, remember that some of life's most meaningful changes unfold so gradually they can only be recognized in hindsight. What once looked like delay may later reveal itself as careful preparation. Some people call that coincidence. Others experience it as grace. Whatever language speaks to you, the invitation remains the same. Stay open to the possibility that growth often begins long before you can measure it. So let me ask you something, Taurus. What hope have you been carrying so quietly that you've almost stopped giving it a voice? If it feels meaningful, share it in the comments below. Or tell me about a symbol, image, or recurring thought that has stayed with you lately. Sometimes naming what has been quietly living inside us is the first step toward understanding why it continues to call for our attention. As we move deeper into this reflection, another layer begins to emerge. The cards, not as fixed predictions but as symbolic mirrors, point toward a meaningful theme. The Hierophant, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Ace of Pentacles each speak in their own way about rooted wisdom, embodied self-worth, and the willingness to cultivate something lasting. Together, they suggest that the recognition you're seeking may begin not with the world's approval, but with the quiet certainty that you no longer need to question the ground beneath your own feet. The message these symbols carry is remarkably simple. You no longer have to prove your value by carrying more than your share. Strength has never been measured by how much weight you can hold before you finally grow tired. The Hierophant reminds you that wisdom isn't found in endless endurance. It grows from living in alignment with the values that genuinely sustain you, not the habits you simply inherited. Some of those old beliefs may have once helped you feel secure, but they were never meant to define your future. The Queen of Pentacles introduces a gentler truth, one that may feel unfamiliar at first. It is safe to receive care. It is safe to accept support without feeling that you owe something in return. There may have been times when you believed you had to earn rest, affection, or abundance by constantly being dependable. That version of you can begin to soften now. You are learning that healthy stability is not built through exhaustion, but through balance between giving, receiving, and trusting yourself enough to welcome both. Then the Ace of Pentacles appears, carrying the quiet promise of new beginnings rooted in reality rather than fantasy. It doesn't ask you to become someone different. Instead, it invites you to recognize the fertile ground already beneath your feet. This card speaks of potential that grows steadily, nourished by patience, presence, and the willingness to believe that what is meant to flourish doesn't need to be forced. Sometimes the greatest opportunity begins the moment you stop doubting whether you're ready for it. For years, you may have relied on what felt familiar simply because familiarity offered reassurance. You learned to protect what was stable, even when parts of your life quietly asked for fresh air. Perhaps a voice inside whispered, "If I hold on a little longer, everything will eventually feel right." But another voice is beginning to emerge now. It says, "Real security isn't found in refusing to change. It's found in trusting myself wherever growth leads. There is a thought that has stayed with me through many seasons of uncertainty. You were never created merely to preserve what already exists. You were created to grow into the fullest expression of who you are. I offer that thought not as certainty, but as a gentle reflection. Deep down, there may already be a part of you that recognizes its truth. If you're looking for a simple way to anchor this shift, begin with something deeply personal. Write down 3 qualities you genuinely appreciate about yourself, not achievements, not responsibilities you've carried, not the ways you've made life easier for everyone else. Simply 3 truths that remind you who you are beneath every expectation you've learned to carry. Read them aloud and allow your own voice to become a place of reassurance instead of criticism. If you'd like, share one of those qualities in the comments below. Sometimes acknowledging our own quiet strengths helps them take deeper root. Growth doesn't always arrive through dramatic breakthroughs. Often it begins with a single honest recognition that no longer needs anyone else's permission. As we continue, another realization begins to unfold. Many people don't recognize how long they've been living from old patterns until something healthier begins to feel possible. Taurus, there are moments when familiarity can become so comfortable that we mistake it for genuine peace. Yet peace and habit are not always the same thing. Perhaps you spent years believing that staying the course was always the safest choice. You became skilled at preserving what was dependable, even when your heart quietly longed for more room to expand. You told yourself, this is enough, not because it truly satisfied you, but because certainty often felt easier than the unknown. Over time, stability may have become something you protected, rather than something that genuinely nourished you. Now that understanding is beginning to shift, the invitation before you isn't to abandon your foundations. It's to strengthen them by building your life on values that continue to support your growth, instead of limiting it. True abundance reaches far beyond material success. It is the freedom to welcome joy without expecting it to disappear. It is trusting a compliment instead of questioning it. It is allowing yourself to rest without believing you've somehow fallen behind. It is recognizing that protecting your own energy is not selfish. It is part of creating a life that can sustain both you and the people you care about. As you practice honoring your own needs, moments of uncertainty may still arise. That doesn't mean you're making the wrong choice. It often means you're learning a new way of relating to yourself. The version of you that once believed security depended on holding everything together is gradually making space for something steadier, confidence that grows from within rather than from circumstances you can control. I'd like to leave you with one simple practice. When this reflection is over, find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Sit with yourself for a few minutes and write down 3 things you value about who you are today. Not what you've accumulated, not what you've maintained, not what you've accomplished to earn approval. Just 3 honest reminders of the person you've become, and allow those words to settle like roots finding deeper ground. And here's one gentle rule for this exercise. Don't add the word "but" after any of the qualities you write down. No explanations, no minimizing, no conditions that make your own strengths feel smaller. Simply acknowledge them. That's how genuine self-worth begins to take root, not through applause from the outside, but through the quiet habit of believing your own voice. You weren't created only to preserve what already exists. You were created to keep growing. You don't have to feel completely prepared before you take that step. A willing heart is often enough to begin. Taurus, let this be your reminder that it's okay to want a life that feels fuller, steadier, and more deeply aligned with who you are. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your definition of abundance has quietly changed. Not because you've accumulated more than everyone else, but because you built something that allows you to breathe more freely. The most meaningful kind of prosperity isn't driven by constant pressure or fear of losing it. It feels grounded, sustainable, and capable of supporting both your present life and the future you're gradually creating. Many of us inherit stories about money long before we understand them. Perhaps you heard that security is fragile, that wanting more invites disappointment, or that simply getting by should be enough. Over time, those ideas can shape not only financial decisions, but also the way we measure our own value. They encourage caution even when opportunity appears, and they can make receiving feel strangely uncomfortable. Yet inherited beliefs are not permanent truths. They are simply stories that can be examined, questioned, and, when necessary, rewritten. Seen symbolically, Venus reminds Taurus that value begins within. It speaks of honoring what nourishes you, investing your energy wisely, and recognizing that self-respect is one of the strongest foundations any life can be built upon. Jupiter, as an archetype of expansion, suggests that growth often follows the moment you begin trusting yourself more fully. That growth may express itself in many ways: a new direction, a meaningful opportunity, greater confidence, or a healthier relationship with your resources. None of those possibilities arrive because the universe owes you something. They become easier to recognize when your inner landscape is ready to receive them. The deeper invitation isn't to chase wealth for its own sake. It's to cultivate a life that reflects your values with honesty and patience. Financial well-being can become one expression of that process, but it is not the only measure of success. Lasting abundance is built the same way healthy roots grow beneath a strong tree, quietly, consistently, and with care. Every thoughtful decision, every boundary that protects your energy, and every choice that honors your well-being becomes part of that foundation. Over the years, I've watched remarkable transformations begin in surprisingly ordinary moments. Often they didn't start with a dramatic breakthrough. They began when someone questioned an old belief they had accepted for years. One simple thought changed everything. What if I don't have to keep repeating the same story? From there, different choices naturally followed, and those choices gradually reshaped an entire life. So let me ask you something, Taurus. What might become possible if you gave yourself permission to want more, not from fear of lacking, but from a genuine desire to create a life that reflects your deepest values? Imagine the people who may one day benefit from the stability, wisdom, and compassion you're building now. Growth has a way of reaching far beyond the person who begins it. This isn't about overnight success or dramatic promises. It's about a gradual realignment between who you are and how you choose to live. Real abundance grows from trust to trust in your judgment, your resilience, and your ability to nurture what truly matters. If your relationship with money, security, or self-worth has ever felt uncertain, try writing this somewhere. You'll see it often. My value isn't something I have to earn. It is the ground from which everything else can grow. As we continue, another image comes to mind. There is a moment in every garden when a young tree no longer needs to struggle simply to survive. Its roots have reached deep enough into the earth that growth becomes less about proving strength and more about expressing it naturally. Taurus, perhaps you're approaching a season of life that feels much the same. For years, you may have been the dependable one, the person who held everything together because consistency felt like the safest path. That strength has served you well. Now you're being invited to discover that true stability doesn't come from carrying everything alone. It comes from allowing yourself to grow beyond what once felt necessary. For a long time, that version of you served an important purpose. It helped you feel protected when certainty mattered more than possibility. It taught you how to build, preserve, and endure, reminding you that consistency could become its own quiet form of strength. Yet somewhere along the way, the walls that once sheltered you may also have become the walls that limited you. What began as protection slowly turned into hesitation, and caution gradually became a habit you rarely questioned. Without realizing it, you may have started believing that safety depended on never loosening your grip, that rest had to be earned, and that change always carried more risk than promise. The routines that once grounded you may have become so familiar that you stopped asking whether they were still helping you grow. But another truth is quietly making itself known now, like morning light slowly reaching the forest floor after a long stretch of shadow. It doesn't arrive with urgency or demand immediate action. Instead, it asks only that you notice it. Your worth has never depended on how perfectly you hold everything together. You don't need to become a different person before you deserve peace. You don't have to master every lesson before allowing yourself moments of ease. The version of you that believed constant vigilance was the only path to security deserves compassion, because it was doing its best with what it understood at the time. It was responding to old experiences, not to the possibilities that are beginning to unfold before you now. Now comes the invitation to thank that older version of yourself with genuine respect. It carried you through seasons that required resilience. It helped you survive uncertainty when stability seemed fragile and every careful decision felt necessary, but it doesn't have to guide every step from here. Growth asks for something different. It asks for trust alongside strength, openness alongside wisdom, and the willingness to believe that stability can expand rather than simply be protected. Like the roots of a healthy tree, real security isn't created by gripping the same patch of earth forever. It grows by reaching deeper while remaining open to the nourishment that has always been waiting below the surface. Life isn't keeping score of how hard you've struggled before offering you something meaningful. Instead, it often reflects the relationship you have with yourself. When you begin treating your own value as something steady rather than conditional, the way you experience opportunities, relationships, and even challenges can begin to change. You may notice yourself speaking with greater confidence, honoring your limits more naturally, and recognizing that protecting your energy is just as important as investing it. The world around you may not transform overnight, yet your experience of it often changes the moment you stop measuring yourself through old standards that were never truly yours to carry. Think about the ways you've quietly underestimated yourself. How often have you dismissed your own progress because it didn't happen quickly enough? How many times have you delayed joy until everything felt completely secure? How often have you mistaken familiarity for fulfillment simply because the unknown seemed harder to trust? Those questions aren't meant to judge the past. They're simply inviting you to see it with new eyes. Sometimes the greatest shift begins when you realize that comfort and contentment are not always the same thing, and that protecting your peace may require making room for new possibilities rather than holding tighter to old ones. Real prosperity isn't measured only by what you accumulate. It's reflected in the calm that comes from trusting your own foundation. It appears when you no longer believe every opportunity must be chased or every outcome tightly controlled. It grows when you understand that receiving isn't weakness and that allowing support doesn't diminish your strength. The life you're building becomes more sustainable the moment your inner stability no longer depends on constant effort alone. From that place, success becomes less about proving yourself and more about creating a life that feels deeply aligned with your values, your energy, and the pace that genuinely allows you to flourish. If you'd like to anchor this shift, try a simple practice. Write a letter to the version of yourself that always believed security depended on holding everything together. Thank that part of you for its devotion, its patience, and its courage. Acknowledge how much it carried and how faithfully it tried to protect your future, even when it was exhausted. Then gently let it know that it doesn't have to carry the entire weight of your future anymore. The strength it gave you will remain, even as your way of living begins to change. You're not abandoning that part of yourself. You're allowing it to rest after years of doing everything it knew how to do. There is something quietly transformative about releasing the need to earn every good thing that comes your way. As that old habit softens, you may find yourself meeting life with greater openness instead of constant vigilance. You don't have to force every door to open. Sometimes the next step appears when your attention shifts from controlling every outcome to trusting your own ability to meet whatever comes. Confidence isn't always loud. Often it feels like a quiet certainty that you will be able to grow through whatever life places in front of you, even if you can't see the entire path today. Taurus, perhaps the question isn't whether you're ready for a different chapter. Perhaps it's whether you're ready to believe that your value is never dependent on proving how much you can endure. The abundance you seek, the peace you long for, and the steadiness you've been trying to build all begin from the same place, recognizing that your worth has never been separate from who you already are. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the less you need outside circumstances to convince you that you're standing on solid ground. You are not defined by the fears that once protected you. You are shaped by the choices you make as you continue growing beyond them. Every small decision to trust yourself, every moment you choose curiosity over fear, becomes another ring in the trunk of the life you're building. And maybe that's what this new chapter truly asks of you, not to become someone else, but to become more fully yourself, with enough trust to let your roots reach deeper while your life continues to expand. Growth doesn't erase your past. It gives everything you've lived through a stronger foundation from which to keep unfolding. So I'd like to leave you with one final question. Which version of yourself feels ready to rest at last? Which belief about security, success, or self-worth no longer reflects the person you're becoming? If you'd like, share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes naming what we're ready to release is the first quiet step toward making room for something healthier to grow. Speaking those words aloud can become a gentle reminder that transformation doesn't always begin with dramatic action. Sometimes it begins with simple honesty. And before we part, may you continue to recognize strength, not only in what you can endure, but also in what you're willing to receive. May you remember that even when the path feels uncertain, your roots are still growing beneath the surface, quietly drawing strength from places you cannot yet see. Above all, Taurus, remember this. You are not behind your own journey. You are growing at a pace that honors who you are. And with every step, you're building a life that rests on ground you can truly trust. As that foundation grows stronger, you'll likely discover that the peace you've been searching for was never waiting somewhere far ahead. It has been growing within you, patiently, one steady step at a time.